Blackfish cut attendance at SeaWorld and prompted changes in the way the company conducts business. Now animal activists are hoping to do the same for dolphins at the Mirage, who they say may be suffering from a virus. Experts say the pox virus is the result of stress, environmental conditions, and general health, and they say the mammals just don't belong in the equivalent of a swimming pool in the desert sun. We contacted MGM Resorts, which owns the Mirage. However, as of this taping, we did not hear back. And joining me to talk about it, from Save the Mojave Dolphins, Cecilia Labar. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I mentioned the documentary Blackfish, which really has had a profound impact on not only SeaWorld's behaviors and their corporate policies, but also on their visitation. Are you hoping to stem tourism at the Mirage, at this dolphin exhibit?
You know, with movies like Blackfish and The Cove, which came out a few years earlier, the momentum and more people are becoming aware at how the dolphins suffered, not just at SeaWorld or at other facilities, but, you know, even the ones that we have in our own backyard here in Vegas at the Mirage.
Do you find there's a cultural difference when you're out there protesting and you talk with tourists? Do you find that people from Asia maybe are more or less interested than American tourists? Is there any cultural difference?
You know, we have had a lot of protests outside the Mirage, and, you know, basically we have a lot of interest. We get a lot of letters signed, you know, while we're there, and we hand out a lot of brochures and a lot of information. I don't really see a cultural difference at our protests.
And, you know, ironically, that's one of the things that SeaWorld may be responsible for, is broadening the horizons of a lot of Asian tourists who maybe didn't take animal welfare, sea life welfare as seriously before.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because, you know, we have 30 plus facilities in America that hold captive dolphins, orcas are dolphins too. But in China and Japan, they own probably hundreds. So they have a lot of dolphins in captivity in Japan and China, and we try to spread awareness locally and, you know, trying to fix our own stuff in our own backyard before even trying to tackle how China and other Asian companies treat dolphins. But definitely there are people on the ground working.
We tried to contact MGM. Have you heard from them? Have they responded to your protests at all?
We've spoken to just their PR person.
Do they have any response? Do they say they're going to put up? I know one of your concerns is that the animals are exposed, the dolphins are exposed to the sun,
right,
all day, and that there's not enough shade for them.
Right.
Have they said anything about that?
There is a USDA regulation that says that they should have adequate shade for the environmental conditions, and for the majority of the day, the dolphins don't have a permanent shade structure to go to.
Because even though they're in water, explain to people that they would normally not be.
Absolutely. Right. In the wild, the dolphins would be foraging, you know, 40, 50 miles a day, diving under the depths of the ocean to, you know, they would never be hanging out on the top of the water for as long as they do at a captive facility like the Mirage. So yes, the Mirage, we have documentation of them putting sunscreen on these dolphins, so they'll obviously need protection from the sun.
And in addition to the sun, I mean, it's just a general health issue as far as keeping dolphins who swim miles and miles and miles a day in essentially what is a swimming pool in the desert.
Right. Well, we're talking physical, but, you know, the more research that you do on dolphins, they're very, very highly intelligent, socially complex, emotional creatures. They can't possibly be stimulated in a captive little tank.
I think that's one of the things that was one of the most disturbing parts about Blackfish, was that people saw the emotional attachment that the whale had to its baby, right?
Absolutely. And you know, bottlenose dolphins have the same emotional connections to their babies, and, you know, they're separated at captive facilities, and they can't see their moms, and they can't see, you know, the other pod members, because they're forced to be separated from each other.
All right, well, we will try to get a response and stay on top of this. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Lights, drones, action. Hollywood gets